Hello, hello. Welcome in the house. Welcome back to Learning the Houses in the House. If you did not watch week 1 or week 2, please go back because every week is another layer and we build upon the previous. And if you did not watch the prologue, you absolutely need that to understand what is going on. Week 1 was about the foundation. We built our structure there. And week 2 was about the front door. Who is standing in the doorway in your first house? We are still on house number 1, and now we're in week 3. This week builds on both week 1 and week 2. This is the footsteps. This is where things start moving. So up to this point, everything that we have talked about has been static. It's not moving. It's been there since the time of your birth. Your signs are static. They don't change. Your chart doesn't change. Your first house doesn't change. Your rising sign does not change. But your experience of it does. And that is exactly what activation is. That's what we are zooming in on, focusing in on this week is activation, movement, and timing. Activation means that a part of your chart becomes more emphasized for a period of time. It's not because something new appears, but it's because attention actually shifts. So we know that the first house is always there, but sometimes it becomes louder. It and the things in it, the components of it become louder. They might become more visible, or they're going to become more central to your life. And no, this isn't only happening in the first house. This happens in all 12 of your houses, but we're focusing on house number 1 right now. So let's focus in there. So what activates the first house? Now, here is where this actually becomes practical, and I hope that you have your charts. The first house becomes emphasized when a planet crosses your ascendant, planets move through the house, your chart ruler is activated. Remember, we learned that in week 1, what your chart ruler is and how much it makes a difference to the way that your life plays out and the way that you present into the world. So if your chart ruler is activated, if a timing technique brings focus to it, or even if eclipses land near your ascendant or in the same sign. And so these are movement and timing things that happen. These are outside of our control. So we hear these things if you've scrolled past or you know about Mercury retrograde. That's a planet. And so if that planet happens to be moving through your first house, that's going to mean something different than it means for other people. Sometimes you hear, oh, well, Neptune and Uranus are going conjunct the sun and Pluto or this and that. And so it's like we hear all these little bitty things that astrologers are saying, hey, this is important. Something is happening here. But we probably don't know what, me personally, I can speak for me, I never knew what it meant. And so that is what we are here for, to understand what those movements mean. I'm not here to talk about what the planets do and what they mean and how long their transits are. That's not exactly what I'm here for. I'm here to explain what does that mean for a human. When those planets are doing their thing and helping our universe flow as it should, what does that mean for me as a human? Not only just me as a human, what does that mean for me as a human with the components that I personally have in my chart? So all of those movement techniques, there's different methods, but they all are generally the same idea that something is being activated there, that there is motion being detected on your first house ring camera, if you want to look at it like that. So a key distinction is that activation does not mean that something is guaranteed to happen. I'm not saying that, soon as something gets activated in your first house, this is going to happen, and then this, and you can guarantee it. That doesn't mean that. What it means is that that area of life becomes more active. I can think of it like this. This just kind of popped into my head. Soon as a person turns 16, they are eligible then to get their driver's license. But many people don't get it at the age of 16. Many people get it, at different times. Some people are ready the day they turn 16. Some people don't get it until after 18. So just because something is activated doesn't mean something is guaranteed to happen. It just means that the possibility and the opportunity is there. Things are more noticeable. Things are going to be more relevant. So we're not predicting. This is not a prediction technique. These are timing and activation techniques. We are tracking the timing and the emphasis that they have as a result of those things being activated. So now if we want to focus on one tool, you guys, I'm so excited for this one. This changed my life, for real, for real. So we're gonna focus on this one tool, and because this is where you actually start using astrology and understanding the chart. And so that tool is annual profections. Not protection, not projection, PROF, like professor. Profections, annual profections are a timing system based on your age. Each year of your life actually activates a different house. How cool is that? Literally, I can't believe I've been living all my life like, oh, well, I'm in Scorpio and then just going to all Scorpio things. But like, come on, it depends on what part of life I'm in, what year of life I'm in, what the planets are doing. It really is so much bigger than it ever has been for me. So it moves in a 12-year cycle. We have 12 houses. So it moves in a 12-year cycle. So it goes age 0, you're in a first house year. Age 1, second house, age 2, third house, and so on until age 12 is back to the first house, age 24, back to the first house, and so on and so forth. So every 12 years, the cycle actually repeats. And I think that's so cool. I love this part. And this is only one timing technique. You know how I've said that there's so many house systems and then there's so many different styles and traditions of astrology. Now there's so many timing techniques. So what I'm really saying is like there's so many different ways to look at and decide and figure out and understand the code of your life. This is so serious. If you want it to be, it could be so serious because it could be the code of your life, not a prediction tool, not a, we're just throwing stuff in a basket and throwing stuff against the wall and hope it sticks. These are techniques to use to say, hey, maybe I should focus on this area of my life just based off this. And then what if it doesn't work? Then okay, cool. Fine, but if you are in that timing of life, why not put more of your focus there? Because, or if there might be more emphasis there. All right, so hope you have your charts. So you have the circles of the chart, each slot, each slice is a piece of the pie. Each of those is a house. So here is how you're going to find your profection year. Here is the part that makes this usable. So you take your current age, however old you are. I am currently 34. So that number is going to tell you what house year you're in. Just like I said, at age 36, you're back to the first house. So I can count backwards. Here's some math inside astrology. So I can count backwards, meaning that 35, I would be in the 12th house. 34 is the 11th house. So I am currently in a 11th house year. Easy peasy. My daughter is 11. So she is in a 12th house year because remember I just said that at age 12, you go back to the first house. So she's in the 12th house year. And now, we haven't touched on that. Remember, I'm in 11th and she's in 12th. We haven't touched on that. We're only in the first. So I can't really tell y'all what she or I are focusing on because I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to jump ahead. But if you're 24, 36, 48, you are in a first house year, and so on and so forth. If you're 25, 37, 49, you're in a second house year. So figure out what year profection that you're in. I know that everyone is trying to do that right now. So I am actually going to, or have already included a visual chart, an annual profection sheet for this in the lesson this week, because I know y'all want to see where you are, but I'm not going to break down every house in detail right now. However, that sheet is a quick reference sheet to say, oh, I'm in house 10 year. What does that mean for me? Go ahead and check it out. And if you went and checked it out and now you're back, welcome back. So we're focusing on the first house still. And as we move through this series, every week 3 of every house will come back to profections. This is the timing technique that I want to teach in this series. And then potentially I'll get into other techniques after, or if they come up or if they make sense for a certain house. But every week 3, we will be coming back to profections and go deeper house by house. Now, I want to talk about something else that is important to bring up here so that we can talk about perfections every week 3, and we can talk about timing. So when a house is activated, the planet that rules that house becomes very important. I was hinting at this earlier. That planet that rules the house that is activated for the current year is going to be the Time Lord of that year. I hope that made sense. Please don't let that go over your head. I'm going to break it down one more time, and then after that, you can run it back if you need to. When a house is activated, like when you're in that annual profection year, the year of perfection that you are in, that house is the house that is activated. I am in a 11th house year. Currently, this year, my 11th house is activated. And that means that the planet that rules my 11th house is going to become the Time Lord, or is the Time Lord of my year this year. The Time Lord is the planet holding the spotlight for that year. Right now, you don't need your whole chart. You just need your rising sign, because we're only talking about the first house. I could go on and tell y'all what's ruling my year, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to confuse anyone. So let's look at your first house only. Look at what your first house is and what planet that is ruling that is the one that is the Time Lord when your annual profection year is in the first house. So anyone who is 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, you are in a first house year. So look at what's ruling it, and that is your Time Lord this year. If you're in a first house year, definitely put a little post in the community to let us know, hey, here I'm being, ruled by this planet this year, and I'm in a first house year. Just let us know. I would love to know who is. Because the Time Lord is going to be the planet that you're going to want to watch that year. That's what you're going to want to watch. But don't watch your first house year. Don't watch your first house planet right now if you're not in a first house year. I mean, you could, but it might not make a difference. But if you are, then definitely watch it. Because if something is happening to that planet, then you are going to feel it more. My first house, remember, my chart ruler is the sun. So anytime I'm in a first house year and the sun is doing anything with anybody, oh, it's going to make a difference for me. And so that's how this starts to connect to real life. And it's really important that two people can be in the same type of year, the same annual profection year, and have completely different experiences. I could be in 11th house year and 1,700 other people could be in it too, but we all are going to have different experiences because our rising signs are different and our chart rulers are different, and their charts overall are different from mine. That is why our code is our code. My code is my code is my code is my code is my code. Ooh, if we can get any twins in here, that would be great, because I want to look at some twin birth charts. I just personally haven't looked it up. I'm probably going to do it after I finish this. But even their charts, I assume, are a bit different. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a good question for me. This is why we're learning the house in the house, because I will come back and make a post about this in week 3 to be like, guess what? Found out about the twins. But yes, the rising signs are different. Their chart rulers are different. Their charts are different. Where their planets are different. And then just remember, what is a constructive expression versus a stressed expression of different things is going to make things show up different as well. And even for the exact same person, for me, for my daughter, for my brother, for my parents, for anybody, a first house year at 24 is going to be very, very different and feel very, very different than a first house year at 36. Imagine a first house year at 12 versus a first house year at 48. I think it's so cool kind of depending on how old you are, to be able to, if you have at least gone through, I would say 2 good cycles, so you have to be at least 24, to look back and be like, hey, what was I like when I was 11 versus when I was 23? What was I like when I was 36 versus when I was 12. Like, I just think it's so super cool. And it really could, like, wow, I really did focus on, identity and self so much when I was 12 and when I was 24 and when I was 36 versus when I was 22 or when I was 18 or when I was 30. I'd like to hear people's stories because I think this could kind of like boop, bloop, 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 mind blow. This could be mind blowing for some people because in those 12 years or 24 years or 36 years, whatever, your life has changed. Your environment has changed and your relationship to yourself has changed. So maybe over those 12 years, you decided or you found out how to regulate some of the way that you respond to things. So you maybe have healed some inner child stuff. You maybe have went through some things that were traumatic. You maybe got in and out of a relationship. Maybe you had kids. So your life, your environment, and your relationship to yourself is completely different. But your Time Lord is still going to remain your Time Lord. And so I love this because these are the things that remain the constants. These are the things that say, hey, when all else fails, you can come back to this. And this is where your center can be. And this is where your focus can be to understand, like, what the heck and where do I go in life? Even in the next 365 days. I absolutely love it. And so even when your chart is being activated differently through different transits, it's going to be different. So even if at 12, you were really focused on your identity and you were like, oh, I'm cute now and I'm feeling myself and I'm about to be a teenager or whatever. And then at 24, you're like, oh, I'm feeling myself. I'm cute, focused on identity, focused on showing up as my true self. But your Time Lord had a different transit or a different activation that year. Oop, throw it out the window. Might have been the worst identity year of your life. Whew. So you're revisiting the same theme from a different level during each of those 12-year cycles. Every 12 years, you come back to the same house though. But you're not the same person. And I love that. So when you are in a first house year, identity becomes central. Your body, your direction, your presence. If you are in a first house year, or if you have a first house year, maybe next year, focus on this, focus in, lock in, because your identity likely is going to become a central focus for you. So maybe you'll change your appearance. Maybe you'll decide like, ooh, I don't want to talk like this anymore. Or I want to get better at speaking. I want to get better at speaking up for myself, something like that. Your body, your direction, your presence, and your chart really becomes the Time Lord. So let me break it down. I did already a little bit, but let's just let this be the section. Me, Leo rising. The sun rules my chart. So in my first house year, identity becomes central, visibility is going to go way up, and my self-definition is going to shift. I'll see y'all in 2 years, and I'll let you know. And you'll be like, oh yeah, she did say in 2 years she was going to be in a first house year. So the sun would be my Time Lord during that time. So if you are also Leo rising, wherever your sun is placed, that area of life connects to your identity that year. That's important too, because you might be a Leo rising and then you might be an Aquarius sun. So wherever your sun is placed, that area of life connects to your identity that year. Okay. That's it's very important. Now let's contrast, like we always do, with our good Sir Bob Marley. He is a Sagittarius rising and Jupiter rules the chart for Sagittarius rising. So in a first house year, what becomes central? Expansion. We've already kind of talked about that. Direction is going to grow. Beliefs are going to become more active, even more than they would in the other 11 years. It might seem some years like, wow, he really grew during that year. And the reason for that could probably be because that was the Time Lord for him that year. That is what was active, and that was what was central to the lessons and the growth and the transitions that he was going through that year. So I already talked about my 11-year-old daughter being in a 12th house year, and her chart starts with Taurus, so it ends with Aries. So without even knowing the theme of the 12th house, I know that her Time Lord this year is Mars. I know that she's in a Mars year, so I could look at that and know that it's all about action, energy, and ambition, and that kind of definitely aligns with the things that she's been doing and the ideas that she's been having and how she's trying to kind of just like focus in on things in her life, especially because she's leading into a first house year. But I do want to make a quick note, because if we bring it back to week one, her 12th house is Aries, not her first. So remember how the natural ruler of the first house is Aries, and the natural ruling planet is Mars. Well, that doesn't technically work for her. If we break it down to the individual person, it's 12th for her, not the first. And that is how I'm reading it. That's how I am interpreting it. And it works for me that way. So I hope this has all made sense. Definitely leave me questions, send me messages, put posts up in the school. We are open. The only way that we really can grow even better is to really communicate and to basically make this a community where we engage in the lessons, engage in the discussions, engage with the quizzes. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. Let me know if you want more quizzes. Let me know if you want me to slow something down or break something down. I am here for you because I am learning through you. I'm learning with myself, but I wanted to branch this out so I can learn with others and through others. So let's go. Bring it on back. Bring it on home. Week one was the foundation, where we built the house. Week two was the front door. We saw who is standing there. And even if nobody was standing there, we learned about what that still can mean as far as emphasis. And week three, here we are, the footsteps. Now we're listening. Now we're listening, and we're seeing what's moving. We're seeing, when does someone walk up? We're seeing, when does that door get used? We're seeing, when does the energy shift? And we're starting to understand exactly why. Because it has to do with timing. Has to do with timing. All these things are really making sense when it comes to understanding that things just go in a cyclical, timed fashion. And I think this is why we always say history repeats itself. But if we can learn what the cycles are for our personal self and for the bigger collective, we might be able to see some things coming. So here's some reflections to think about over the next week, and then make sure you go into the discussion so we can discuss them. Think about your life in your 12-year cycle. Have there been years where identity felt more central? Now, if you have to be at least 12, at least 13 to know this. Have there been years where identity felt more central? Yes or no? And have there been years where direction changed, where you just shifted and was like, oh, like I started a whole new life, or I turned over a new leaf, or whatever you want to call it? Have there been years where that happened? And do they align? How old were you? How old were you when it happened, and does it align with the Profections? And I know y'all are going to go over to the sheet. So does it align the year that you're in right now? Does it align with the little theme that you see for that? Let me know what you think about Profections. Because now you understand the structure of the house. You understand who stands at the door and when that door becomes active. Next week, we are going to be talking about the floor plan. We're really putting everything together. When you got a floor plan and you got to figure out what can go in there, what can comfortably, how are you going to decorate it, kind of deal. We're going to put it all together. The sign, the ruler, the planets, and the timing. How does it all work together? And how is that house looking? How is that house operating? Because knowing each piece is one thing, but seeing how they all work together, now that's where your skill is going to start to be built. Don't forget to be intentional, be faithful, and be humble. And I love y'all.